like a lot of other car guys, I was cruising through Copart and I came across this interesting 2011 BMW 328i. The current bid at the time was 125 bucks and I ended up getting this for $1,000. It currently does not start. Hello and welcome to the channel if you're new, and thank you if you're a returning viewer. This is my new to me 328i X-Drive BMW. So I got delivery of this thing just a couple days ago. I will preface by saying that I did attempt to start the vehicle. However, nothing happens once you press the start button on the dash. I did totally find out that someone, before they put up for auction, swapped the battery to some really old one. So I have a brand new battery in it, but it still doesn't start. So I'll show you what happens when we try to start this thing. All right, so as you can see, the key is inserted. My foot is on the brake. Nothing happens. With the lights here, you can see even when I press the button that they dim. So I'm seeing there's definitely probably a load going to the starter, just it's not doing anything. So more than likely the starter is just completely shot in this. I did do a quick read of the CAS module in this, and it also said that probably the starter isn't working because it had some kind of fault. So we're going to go ahead and swap out that starter in this and see if we can get my $1,000 BMW running. I got the car in the shop, so we're going to go ahead and begin the process of getting the starter swapped out on this. Essentially, you just have to take off the upper intake manifold off and then move a couple brackets out of the way. We should be able to take the starter out. The only thing to note is that the starter uses torque-to-yield bolts. So you're going to want to go ahead and have to pick some up on Amazon or something, just because you're actually not really supposed to reuse the same bolts. You also want to get ones that don't have any weird coatings, because if you do, it may affect the grounding to the trans. So it may not work because of that too. So just a couple things to keep in mind. So I'm going to go ahead and set up a quick time lapse of this being removed, and we'll check back in. Well, I can say with certainty that is the most amount of work I think I've ever had to do just to get a starter out of a car. So we finally have all the stuff out of the way, so I can actually remove out the starter, swap in a new one, and throw all the stuff back in. Got the new starter in. I'm going to go ahead and through some editing magic, go ahead and get everything put back together here. So we can go ahead and try starting this thing up and seeing if this thing is actually running or not. And just like that, we got everything put back together. I'm going to go ahead and attempt to start the car. And hopefully I didn't forget to plug in something. There's a lot of things you have to take apart just to get to that starter. So there's a lot of chances to mess this one up. So we will see. All right, here goes nothing. Yeah, that's not good. All right, well, as you can see, totally didn't start. I can hear the starter engage. However, it doesn't actually turn over. So probably the engine seized. So I'm going to have to see what I can do to get that going again. I don't know any history of the car, so I'm not sure what the engine looks like. So only next best thing we can do at this point is try to change the oil, try to take a look at the oil and see if anything stands out or anything looks bad, and kind of go from there. So I guess tomorrow I'm going to go ahead and change the oil on this thing. It is day 2. We're back at it. I had some time to think about what the problem is, and just kind of did some general research. I found that a lot of people did mention that the ground straps that go from the passenger side to the engine block go bad very easily. And the same thing for the ground strap that goes somewhere deep within the driver's side down here. Those go bad too, which may cause that issue. Um, Either way, I'm still going to go ahead and change the oil first, just so I at least can see what the general health of the engine is by just seeing what's in the oil. So let's go ahead, jack the car up, and start taking out the oil. All right, I spent some good time removing out the old oil and the filter. And I've been just looking through a lot of it. And so far, I necessarily haven't seen any signs of metallic shavings in the oil or anything. Um, However, as you can probably tell by what's on the paper towel, it's pretty old. You can tell by just the varnish, you can kind of see in the darkness of the oil. So I'm not sure. I'm guessing the oil change was really neglected on this since the last time it ever was looked at. So it's a good thing I'm putting fresh oil in it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put fresh oil in it and see if we can get it to turn over. I went ahead and put some fresh oil in the crankcase. So I'm going to go ahead and attempt to just turn this over by hand. I have a socket directly on the crank bolt and a really long cheater bar. As long as this moves, it should be seized. I have the spark plug still in it and all the accessory belts are still on. So I am going to be fighting some kind of resistance, but it shouldn't take my whole body leaning into it in order to turn it over. So hopefully this turns over. That'll confirm that hopefully I can get at least a starter to get the motor to turn over. And we can kind of work from there. Well, that's certainly good. You can definitely tell when I'm in the compression stroke. But once you're on the exhaust stroke, it's a lot easier to pull. So everything must be mechanically working in there, which is good. So hopefully we can go ahead and try starting this with some fresh oil and filter and see if we at least can get this thing to turn over. Okay, I've done a couple extra rotations on this. It spins pretty freely now. I added a jump pack, just to give it a little more oomph to hopefully bring a little more torque to the starter. So really we're at the point to see if we can get this thing to actually start. Once I get it started, I'm going to try letting it run for a couple minutes, hopefully to kind of break down any gunk that may be stuck inside the engine. And probably I'm going to have to do a bunch of oil changes to clean a lot of the crap out. So we will see next if this thing actually starts. All right, here goes nothing. Spins. All right, as you can tell, it did spin quite a bit faster. So I think the next step is probably what I'm going to try doing is taking all the spark plugs out, turning it over by hand a little bit. And then also I'm going to add just a tad bit of Marvel Mist Oil in all the cylinders, just to hopefully add any kind of lubrication. If I can find my camera, I'm going to go and try to use my borescope to see what may possibly the cylinders look like in here, and see why there might be some interference. I'm not sure if it's just the car sat long enough that maybe it accumulated rust on the cylinder walls. Maybe that's why. But we're slowly making progress. I have a feeling we're getting pretty close. I got my T-Moose Special borescope here, and I'm actually looking down some of the cylinders, and I'm going to try my best to get it on camera. As I'm kind of looking over the cylinder 3, for example, the cylinder walls look good. However, I did notice that right on, I'm not sure if the camera can pick it up, but right here, there's actually a wall of rust right along the piston. So I'm definitely guessing this thing was probably sitting for quite some time, and that's probably why we're actually having a lot of resistance turn this thing over. I'm going to go ahead and continue with my plan of adding some marble mystery oil down these cylinders and letting them soak for a couple days. So that way, by the time I come back to the shop on Sunday, I can go ahead and try turning the motor over, and hopefully this will free up a lot of the rust that's been built up on the cylinders. And if we're very lucky, we might even have this thing start. So let's go ahead and put some marble mystery oil down the cylinders, and we're going to go follow back up on this on Sunday. It is now Sunday. I've had a lot of time to have all these cylinders soak in some of the marble mystery oil. So I went ahead, stirred it a little bit, turned it by hand, and so you can kind of see some of the mess here from marble mystery oil kind of squirting out the cylinders. So I'm still going to turn this over by hand just a little bit more. And then if I feel it's freed up enough, I'm going to go ahead and try using the starter to cycle all the cylinders. And then hopefully it should spin free up just enough that hopefully maybe we can get this thing to start. I'm going to go in the car and start the car. Obviously all it's going to do is just turn over, but not start just because no spark plugs or anything are in it. So hopefully we have some better news of how quickly this turns over. All right, that sounds a lot better. It's starting to turn over much more quickly. So I probably gonna do it a couple more additional times just to keep ensuring that I keep adding additional lubrication to all the cylinder walls here. And then I'm gonna go put some new iridium spark plugs in, put everything back together, and hopefully when we come back for our final test, this thing should start and we can actually have a running car. Okay, I got everything buttoned back up together. Got brand new iridium plugs installed. All the coils are back. I'm just gonna leave the cowl off for now, just because it's not really needed. We're just gonna try to see if this thing starts. If it still wants to fight a little bit, what I may do is I may spray a little bit of starter fluid over in the intake here. Just give it a little bit of extra fuel that it may need to, hopefully get something going. However, I don't think I should, because I had the fuel pump connected while I was turning this over, so I can smell the gas that's in the cylinders right now. So let's go ahead. We're gonna go ahead and try starting this thing up, and hopefully this is the final time we have to try this. All right, here goes nothing.
It was at this moment he knew. He fucked up.
Yeah, I don't think it's starting. I don't know if you can see it, but the starter is literally now smoking from trying to turn this thing over so many times. So yeah, this thing is probably even a lot more locked up on the bottom end. So inevitably, this is probably going to mean I'm going to have to change the engine in this. Thankfully, the N52 or the N51, this one has specifically, are actually pretty cheap on eBay. I've already sourced a couple for about $1,000 to $1,100. So honestly, it's just kind of the annoyance of having to take this out. So stay tuned for a follow-up video of me swapping out this engine with a new to me engine. If you want to stay up to date with all the latest changes and things going on with this car or any of my other projects, feel free to go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Got plenty more coming. And if you could please give the video a like, it'd be much appreciated. Really helps me go ahead and fund the money I'm definitely going to need to replace this engine.